Welcome to Freaked Out with your psychic medium host, Liz, the only channel where ghost stories get real, the dead don't stay silent, and I, Liz, your psychic medium, brings you tales and unsolved cases from the other side, with a touch of dramatic flair. Myself being an Aries. Oh, and before we dive deep into today's haunted episode, next week we're going to be talking about the Atlantic Ocean. Yep, the Titan in particular. The one that imploded on its way to seeing the Titanic wreck underwater. I've had some pretty interesting visions about that one, and let's just say things are better left sunken. But we'll talk about that next week. But today we're not talking shipwrecks. Today we're talking about a lake where people and things often go missing. And unfortunately, the dead do not stay buried. And yes, I am talking about Lake Lanier. And something there just does not want to let go. Let's talk about Lake Lanier and all the details about it first. Now, Lake Lanier is actually a massive man-made lake, and it's in northern Georgia. Sounds peaceful, right? Not so much. I know some people who have had experiences there, and they didn't necessarily have anything spooky happen. Now, in the 1950s, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers flooded over 38,000 acres of land basically to create it. And they drowned whole communities. But before the water came, there was what I would like to say blood already in the soil. Now, one of the towns buried within was Oscarville. Now, this particular community was predominantly Black and violently tortured. And that went back 1912. At least that's when it all started, or at least recorded anyway. And this happened during a campaign of racist terror and lynchings, and the absolute pain that I feel from these people is unreal. The people that hurt them, they got it real bad. So just be aware of that. Over 1,000 Black residents were actually driven from their home. And then, of course, decades later, the government's like, oh, we don't need to see that anymore. We don't want that reminder. Let's make it a big pool. Yay! And I mean, they relocated the graves. Okay. It didn't relocate the pain, though. Didn't relocate the trauma. You bury it, and things always seem to come back with vengeance. Basically, when you put a torture chamber together, you're going to get dark, karmic, demonic energy. It's just going to happen. It doesn't mean that those spirits who were there did anything. But when something so evil transpires, an entity can be formed. And I believe that's exactly what happened here. Now, when I tuned into Lake Lanier, I'll be honest, I quite literally had a hard time breathing. And I have asthma, and my inhaler was not working very well. It took me. I have a hard time doing any sort of underwater or in the sky type of readings, but I'm trying to push through it to give you guys the content. I saw people underwater, alive, dead, you name it. The images and the evilness that took place, branding people, hurting people, like I'm just so mad that this kind of bullshit happens even now, maybe not to the extent and the publicly known, but shit like this still happens, and we're nowhere near getting it fixed. At least not anymore. We've basically gone backwards in the last 6 months. I keep seeing these spirits like reaching and panicking, ash falling everywhere. Snow, but with ashes. That is what I see every time I see this photo. Now, because of that, this lake is now pretty haunted. And I don't mean like 1 or 2 ghosts, even 1 or 2 demons. I mean hundreds. We're talking like 300 to 500 bad, demonic spirits. And that doesn't even include the spirits that died there. They don't necessarily stick around, but they come around there every once in a while to either A, remember what happened, or B, show somebody else what happened. And because people died there, it was kind of like the gas to make the car go. Pain equals fuel for demons. If you have been to Lake Lanier, please let me know in the comments and tell me how you feel and what you felt. I know me, I can't and probably won't ever go to that location because of all the pain, but whew, what do you feel from it? Let me know. In addition to that, I also believe that land is cursed, because why not? Why don't we add some extra elements to it? And over 700 people have died over there. That's just an estimate. I believe the number is actually closer to like 3,000 or 4,000 people. So let's talk about some situations that happened there. Delia Parker Young and Susan Roberts ended up driving off the Lanier Bridge. The car, missing. The girls, gone. A year later, a woman just washes ashore. Hands missing, feet gone, and face completely unrecognizable. Understandably so, they were underwater for a year. Now, decades pass, okay? The car is pulled from the water with Susan's remains still inside, which means the other body was Delia. And that is kind of the timeline of when they started to see Delia. And not just any version of Delia, but a blue ghost. Looking wet, looking pale, wandering the bridge and asking people for help, but never stay long enough to give them help or find out what happened, unless you're the random few that have. I have seen both Delia and Susan, and not just standing, really more so searching. But I also believe that this pale, blue, wet looking spirit is not Delia at all. I feel like it's a demonic energy trying to get someone else to come and play with them. From what I can see from Delia and Susan both, they also encountered an entity that was right in front of their faces. Same MO, blue, pale skin, needing help, seeing a female. They both got out of the car to help. And unfortunately, that's when their luck turned bad. This demonic energy was trying to get them. They tried to run back to their vehicles, which I do believe that obviously Susan was successful in that, but Delia was not. And then in that moment, from what Susan shows me, that vehicle went over and sunk. And that is how she died. Delia, on the other hand, was pulled under as well by the demonic energy, and she also lost her life. And this demon decided to take her spiritual energy and disguise themselves to make them seem like a helpless victim so that they can continue to keep fucking around with people. Yikes. Now, Delia the demon versus Delia the ghost kind of manipulates people like, oh, I'm looking for my boyfriend. Can you help me? Anything to get you out of your car? Don't stop. Keep going. Delia the ghost already knows that the man that she was in love with obviously moved on since that situation, and I think they're all dead now. But I do believe that this demonic energy just took a lot of her memories to scam and manipulate people. I don't believe she's stuck in a loop of waiting. A lot of people do. I think that's the demon trying to F with us. The demon is using that and being aggressive and angry. And I highly recommend anyone who has no choice to drive over this bridge, I would not highly recommend doing so in the middle of the night. And I'm not talking about any normal time. Anytime the sun is down, don't go on that bridge, please, unless you want to take a risk or a gamble. They were not the only ones who drowned there. This place is crawling with energy, like I said earlier. Lost souls, angry ones, confused ones, and some spirits, unfortunately, that don't even know that they're dead, which I do want to help out. I also believe that this particular lake attracts evil people. I believe that this lake has been used as a dumping ground and the lake just accepts it. And ironically enough, I feel like even if they were to take out all the water in that lake, something just tells me that these bodies have disappeared, like in a portal or something, but they are no longer in the water, at least not the old ones. And I believe that when Delia and Susan, their bodies were found, I believe that was a message. And also a plan, a trap, something along those lines that was intentionally dropped on us. And I keep hearing the same thing over and over and over again from this one spirit in particular. No one will look, no one will know. No one will look, no one will know. And honestly, I don't think somebody acted alone here. I feel like it's like a common ground for people to just dump bodies here. I also believe that some murders took place here from people who were what I would call temporarily possessed. Not mentally ill, but an open vessel that invites evil entities within it by something much darker. I keep seeing people with bleeding eyeballs, and if you know me, I'm not into the whole medical side of things, and that just really disturbs me. That is how thick the energy is here. If you ever take a picture of Lake Lanier in person and you suddenly feel like you're short of breath, a stabbing pain in your chest, a wave of unexpected dread. Now let's talk about the more recent events that took place there. There's been an array of things happening, but I want to focus on this case right now of Dustin Valencia. He vanished and things have gotten weirder and weirder since. Now, Dustin was a father of 5 and he just disappeared. What happened to him? What pulled him under just this year? Now, he just vanished and things have gotten extremely weird. He was a father of 5. This one, he just disappeared in broad daylight. I guess this place doesn't necessarily need it to be dark, but I think it's just a little bit more risky at nighttime. We need to know what happened to him. On May 14th, 2025, Dustin leaves his home in Cumming, Georgia, after saying he had plans to get his vehicle serviced. His wife then becomes concerned because he didn't pick up the children as planned. She tracks his phone to Little Ridge Park, where authorities later find his vehicle flip-flopped. Search crews ended up locating the kayak and paddle, and it was floating along the edge. I literally get goosebumps talking about this. And later, they end up finding his body. Now, May 19th is when they confirmed that it was, in fact, Dustin's body. No one finds a life jacket on him. Authorities, of course, are not going to jump to the demonic energy. Suspected accidental drowning. I don't believe it was an accident. Not even kind of close. Although it may not have been unusual for Dustin, although it may not have been unusual for him to take quiet time to himself, even if he didn't tell anyone, this time was different. This particular spot was kind of like a trap from what I can see. He wasn't necessarily even going to go in that direction, but he was pulled towards it. I do not see that he made it into the water on his own. I see something inhumane pulling him in. Something dragged him, snatched him, and basically drowned him. This was not an accident. This was not a suicide. Dustin didn't even feel off. He was in a good headspace. He didn't feel overwhelmed, just wanted a little peace. He wasn't running and he certainly wasn't taken. I believe that he was a good decision maker. I believe he was skilled and experienced in kayaking. It doesn't make sense to me. I also feel like he had a life vest. I know not necessarily in that moment, but definitely in his possession. It could have just vanished. And I also definitely don't feel like if he was going to enter in the water without any kind of protection. Now, I do feel like there was a witness, and I don't even feel like this witness even really witnessed anything. I'll explain. I see somebody was like walking or jogging. They could have even had a dog, or maybe even just an animal ran up on them. I'm not sure. Maybe just passing by. But I feel like they saw him at least going waterside, and then continued to carry on. I also feel like this particular person could not hear or see anything going on. Dustin and obviously all the water. But I see that this woman saw him just minutes before this happened. Now, why wasn't she pulled in? And why was Dustin pulled in? Although Dustin was exceptionally smart and fine and doing what he needed to do, I feel like his energy was low. He was not in a dark place, but in a unhappy feeling, overwhelmed. And demonic energy tends to creep into those people very easily. Now, this jogger looks like she was in a good headspace at that time, so I don't feel like she was affected for that reason. I also feel like this demonic energy covered her or shielded her from hearing anything so that they could get away with what they were doing without anyone present. This particular demonic energy does not like other people being involved or seeing things. It likes to do things on its own. I do feel like they have some recollection of something, but they don't really know what it is. I feel like their mind, in a sense, doesn't even remember being there. It could have been one of those moments like, wait, did I go jogging today? I don't remember. Something along those lines. And this demonic energy is not something here to make a deal. It just simply wants to kill you. And unfortunately, Dustin was not the first, and I honestly do not feel like he will be the last. When it comes to channeling any sort of demonic energy, I highly recommend wearing a mantra. Make sure the mantra works for you. It's usually in a necklace form. It helps when it comes to that. So that way you can protect yourself. There is a ritual as well. But if you want details about how to use that, please let me know in the comments. Now, when it comes to Dustin, where did his spirit go? I do not feel like Dustin is trapped. I feel like he has actually passed on in the good place. He was not trapped within that location, but obviously extremely confused. He wants his family to know that he had no intentions of leaving them. He wouldn't leave them. He had plans with all of his kids. He's showing me camping and summer plans coming up and enjoying the weather together and even just getting back on track. I see that he was feeling a lot of hardship with the financial side of things, but I feel like he was on the way of getting better and at least processing things a little easier. But he is okay. I haven't quite channeled him in the way that I normally would because he's only gone missing quite recently. This is not the only episode we're going to be talking about with this particular lake because there is so much more to dive into. It's actually really crazy. I want to try to figure out a way to help those lost souls, and just by acknowledging them and talking to them and trying to figure things out, I think I can. I also want to point out that there are also indigenous roots in this particular lake too. Before all this, the land actually belonged to Cherokee people, displaced and broken down. There are so many layers of inconsistency and havoc and brokenness. It's awful. It's just one of those things that we need to repair and stop paving shit over it. I really keep seeing a lot of unsolved cases over there, and I think that's the place to go when it comes to bodies. I would not be surprised if they find a lot of items in there. But for whatever reason, they don't want to. They had no problem throwing in the water, but they have zero intention of taking the water out. It's also a symbolism of a mirror. It reflects what we don't see. History's scars and pain, the restless dead who want their stories told. But thank you guys for being here with me on Lake Lanier. Again, I will be back next week when it comes to the crazy Titan and how all of these things happened and what really happened behind the surface that we don't know about. And I am afraid to dive in, but so excited at the same time. So until next time, guys, stay freaked out.